Ever wonder what could push rock's wildest legend to the edge? Picture this: the Prince of Darkness staring straight at the camera, eyes blazing, and declaring he's done playing nice. For more than 5 decades, Ozzy Osbourne has survived biting bats, courtroom battles, and every scandal in between. Yet a select few have managed to spark his pure, unfiltered fury. Stick around, because in the next minutes we'll peel back the velvet curtain to reveal 8 names he'd rather never hear again. Some are household icons, others unexpected targets. But each clash is packed with jaw-dropping twists you won't see coming. Ready to dive into the mayhem? Let's begin. Kanye West's name crashed into Ozzy's world like a thunderclap, and Ozzy slammed the door before the echo faded. In late 2022, rumors swirled that Ye wanted to flip an eerie Sabbath riff into his next track. Normally, Ozzy welcomes creative chaos, but this time he drew a hard line. Why? West's headline-grabbing rants had taken a dark turn, crossing into hateful territory that Ozzy simply wouldn't tolerate. So when the request arrived, the answer was curt. No association, none. One post on X, and the message ricocheted across the internet. Fans watched in real time as the Prince of Darkness set a moral boundary deeper than any onstage pentagram. Ozzy's stance wasn't about clout or cash. It was about principle. Decades of outrageous antics never shook his core belief that music unites, not divides. And he wasn't about to lend his sound to words dripping with bigotry. The backlash was instant. Some corners of social media accused Ozzy of grandstanding. Others celebrated him as rock's elder statesman, drawing the line that the industry wouldn't. West's camp stayed mostly silent, but insiders whispered about frantic last-minute sample clearances being yanked. Behind the scenes, lawyers scrambled. In public, Ozzy just moved on, unfazed. But if you think one denied sample tops Ozzy's blacklist, think again. The next name on his hit list once shared the stage, the spotlight, and the brotherhood of heavy metal, until everything crumbled under the weight of broken promises. Bill Ward was more than Black Sabbath's thunderous heartbeat. He was Ozzy's onstage brother, the soft-spoken anchor to the Prince of Darkness's chaos. But when talk of a full-fledged reunion surfaced in 2011, that brotherhood buckled under the cold weight of contracts. Ward wanted a deal reflecting his decades of sweat. The Osbourne camp countered with paperwork he called unsignable. Silence turned to sniping. Ward posted an open letter. Fans rallied behind the hashtag number Bill Ward deserves better. And Ozzy, never one to mince words, fired back on Facebook. He praised Ward's spirit, then pivoted hard, claiming their drummer was physically out of shape and couldn't make it through a set. A gut punch heard around the metal world. By 2015, the rift was raw. Interviews that once ended in hugs now closed with Ozzy's blunt verdict. Ward doesn't have the chops anymore. To many, it sounded less like concern and more like betrayal. The man who kept time on War Pigs was being written out of Sabbath's final chapter, reduced to a footnote in the very legend he helped create. If contract ink and harsh words could fracture a brotherhood, imagine what happens when pride, pain, and $1 million band name collide. Because Ozzy's next clash would send him toe-to-toe with the riff master who forged Sabbath's very identity. Tony Iommi should have been the one person Ozzy could never turn against. After all, together they invented heavy metal, yet their bond has always teetered on a razor's edge. Back in 1979, tension boiled over in a Birmingham rehearsal room. One sharp insult, one swing, and Iommi's fist allegedly knocked Ozzy out cold. Bruises faded, riffs remained, but the crack in their friendship never quite healed. Fast forward 3 decades. While fans dreamed of a triumphant Black Sabbath comeback, lawyers loaded the cannons. In 2009, Iommi quietly locked down the Black Sabbath trademark, claiming sole ownership. Ozzy exploded. To him, the name was sacred history, their history, and no guitarist, no matter how legendary, could hijack it. Within months, he filed a scorching federal lawsuit, accusing Tony of false designation of origin and demanding a 50% stake. Court filings read like tabloid drama. Ozzy calling the trademark grab morally wrong. Iommi's camp firing back that the prince had abandoned the mark during his solo years. Millions of dollars and decades of legacy hung in the balance. Finally, in 2010, a hush-hush settlement split the rights, but the damage was done. The brothers in metal now eyed each other across a legal minefield, cordial on stage, cautious off it. That uneasy truce set the tone for Sabbath's farewell run. Smiles for the cameras, scars beneath the leather. And if you think trademark battles are messy, wait until money, songwriting credit, and a fallen guitar hero's legacy collide. Because Ozzy's next feud drags him back into court with a bass player who refuses to stay quiet. Bob Daisley thought he'd struck gold when he helped carve the riffs of Blizzard of Oz into rock history, but the glitter soon dripped red with lawsuits. From the moment Ozzy's solo career exploded in 1980, whispers spread that Daisley was more than just the bassist. He was co-architect, lyricist, even unofficial manager. When Sharon Osbourne reshuffled the band a year later, Daisley was out, and the royalty clock started ticking louder than any stage amp. By 1986, he'd filed his first claim, demanding unpaid performance and songwriting fees. Ozzy's camp called it sour grapes. Daisley countered with ledgers and contracts. Round after round followed. 1998, 2002, 2016, each time dragging the Osbourne empire back into court. The most brutal twist came in 2002, when reissues of Blizzard and Diary of a Madman hit shelves with Daisley's bass surgically erased, replaced by a new recording. Fans gasped, purists howled, and Daisley called it a spit on Randy Rhoads' grave. Ozzy fired back that Daisley was bleeding the past dry, insisting the edits were a fresh take, not revenge. But legal filings told a darker story. Millions in disputed royalties, liner note credits shuffled like a deck of marked cards, and enough affidavits to fill a tour bus. In one rare outburst, Ozzy branded the bassist a professional plaintiff, while Daisley shot back that the prince was hiding behind corporate walls. The courtroom saga finally fizzled in 2017 when a U.S. judge tossed Daisley's last big suit, ruling the claims too stale. Yet the scars remain. To this day, debate rages over who penned the lines to Crazy Train and whether Daisley ever saw the paycheck he earned. It's a cautionary tale etched in platinum vinyl. When the music stops, the lawyers keep playing. And if you think contractual crossfire ends backstage, think again, because Ozzy's next showdown erupts in the middle of a concert. Bruce Dickinson strode onto the 2005 Ozfest stage armed with nothing but lungs of steel and a chip the size of Birmingham on his shoulder. For weeks, he jabbed at the tour's corporate gloss, sneering that Ozzy relied on a teleprompter and pre-recorded vocals. Fans laughed, tabloids feasted, and tension crackled like live wires in an overamped stack. Then came the final night in San Bernardino. Mid-set, Iron Maiden ripped into The Trooper, and the PA snapped off. Lights flickered, power cut. The crowd roared in confusion. Seconds later, it surged back, only to sputter out again, 3 furious times. Egg-wielding rowdies pelted the band from the wings. Rumors spread that Sharon Osbourne herself had engineered the chaos, exacting revenge for Dickinson's trash talk while Ozzy watched from the sidelines. Bruce snarled through the sabotage, finishing the show on grit alone. But backstage erupted. Sharon publicly blasted him as sad, bitter, and jealous. Dickinson fired back that Ozfest had become a mech-festival. Metal forums melted under the crossfire. Was it fair payback or a petty ambush? Ozzy, true to form, offered a cryptic grin and left his wife's words standing. The fallout lingered for years, each camp accusing the other of disrespect, while fans debated who'd drawn first blood. One thing was clear: mess with the Osbourne machine, and it might just unplug you in front of 40,000 screaming witnesses. Glitz, filters, and a billion-dollar empire built on selfies, Ozzy isn't impressed. In 2018, the Prince of Darkness was asked what he thought of the Kardashians' meteoric rise. His response? A dry chuckle, then a dagger? They're famous for doing nothing. It wasn't jealousy, it was disbelief that show business now revolved around curated brunch pics instead of blood and sweat rehearsal rooms. For Ozzy, celebrity is earned by shattered eardrums and nights on a moldy tour bus, not by streaming a family squabble to the world. He's battled addiction, lawsuits, and actual bats, so watching reality TV dynasties mint millions from merch lines felt, to him, like stardom, rebooted without the soul. Fans latched onto his critique, flooding comment threads with memes of the leather-clad icon side-eyeing designer handbags. The Kardashians never fired back directly. Why bother when algorithms keep spinning their name into gold? But the culture clash spoke volumes. Rock's old guard versus a new era where virality outmuscles virtuosity. Ozzy's disdain wasn't personal, it was a lament for a world where a 30-second clip can eclipse a 30-year catalog. Yet even the royalty of reality TV didn't see Ozzy's scorn as up close and personal as the man who crossed his daughter. Because next on the hit list is a TV host who poked the Osbourne family bare and immediately felt the claws. Billy Bush thought he was riffing on light gossip when he joked about Kelly Osbourne's latest tabloid flare-up during a 2015 TV segment. Seconds later, he discovered what happens when you tug on a bat's tail. Ozzy, king of chaos, yet fiercely protective dad, jumped onto X with a blast of fury. "Lay off my daughter, you little b***, or deal with me." No cryptic riddles, just a head-on warning that echoed through entertainment headlines. The clash wasn't about ratings. It was paternal instinct sharpened by decades in the spotlight. Bush backpedaled, insisting his comments were harmless banter. Ozzy didn't buy it. In interviews, he doubled down, reminding the world that family comes before fame. Within days, Bush's producers nudged the story off-air, but the scorch mark remained, a cautionary tale. Mock the offspring of the Prince of Darkness at your own peril. Most hosts got the memo. Late-night couches suddenly turned ice-cold on Kelly jokes. And if a single throwaway quip could trigger that level of wrath, imagine the fireworks when Ozzy and Sharon squared up against a woman sparring with a beetle, because our final feud unfolds on live television, with the Osbournes ready to drag an unexpected guest clean off the stage. Live TV leaves zero room for diplomacy, and Ozzy knew it. When whispers spread that Heather Mills, the freshly divorced ex-wife of Paul McCartney, might crash the 2009 Brit Awards, Ozzy's respect for his Beatle hero flared into open hostility. Backstage, he and Sharon cooled exactly 5 seconds before letting rip. If Mills tried to seize the mic, they'd boot her off the stage. Sharon's own words, punctuated by Ozzy's silent nod of approval. Why the venom? To Ozzy, Mills had dragged McCartney through a public mud bath in 2008, pocketing a multi-million-pound settlement while feeding tabloids every lurid detail. The Prince of Darkness might thrive on chaos, but he draws the line at humiliating his heroes. He'd grown up spinning Beatles records in a damp Birmingham flat. Seeing one of them battered in divorce court hit where even bat bites can't. Rumors flew. Mills demanded a spotlight moment. Producers hesitated. Security double-checked exits. Cameras rolled. Tension thick enough to shred denim. In the end, Mills never stormed the stage, perhaps sensing the thunder gathering in Ozzy's glare. But the message was clear. Mess with a Beatle. Face the bat-wielding guardian. Ozzy Osbourne has taken his final bow, but the shockwaves of his feud still rumble through rock history. Kanye West, Bill Ward, Tony Iommi, Bob Daisley, Bruce Dickinson, the Kardashians, Billy Bush, and Heather Mills, each discovered that crossing Ozzy could ignite anything from a blunt tweet to a courtroom siege. Yet beneath every outburst lay a consistent thread. Loyalty mattered, bigotry was a red line, and family, whether Sabbath or Osbourne, came first. Now that the curtain has fallen, we're left with a question only you can answer. Was Ozzy a brawler defending his values, or a lightning rod drawn to conflict? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your favorite Ozzy memory, and hit subscribe for more deep dive stories on the legends who shaped music. Because even though the Prince of Darkness is gone, his roar and the lessons hidden in these legendary beefs will echo forever.